Hello everyone, Meep here. Welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be reviewing The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. So this one is an interesting one because I'm pretty sure that I have a very unpopular opinion about this book. So I hope you enjoy, and if you do, make sure to leave a like on the video and also subscribe if you haven't already. And just in case I need to remind you, you are perfect in every way and don't let anyone say otherwise. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins has 374 pages, and it's a dystopian, but it's still pretty good. So this book is about Katniss Everdeen, and she lives in a place called Panem, something like that. So anyway, Panem is where North America used to be, but after a ton of natural disasters and war, it was sort of wiped off completely. And then Panem was founded, and basically they have control of 12 districts. So Katniss is 16 years old. She comes from District 12, and basically, the Panem is run by the capital. And the capital, to show all the districts that they have their mercy, they created a competition called the Hunger Games. So the Hunger Games takes two kids, one boy and one girl, ages 12 to 18, from each district, and says, fight to the death on live TV. That is essentially what it is, and once Katniss's sister gets drawn to play in the games, she volunteers herself to take her sister's place. One thing that I liked is that Katniss is a really strong protagonist. 16 years old, basically is taking care of her mother and her younger sister, who's only 12, and she's just really strong. She hunts every day, and she's just this really awesome protagonist that I really liked. One thing that I didn't like was the killing part, and this is just because I don't really like too much killing in books. Now, for Harry Potter, there is some killings, and that's one of my favorite series, obviously, but it's sort of magic. This is literally just like stabbing each other, shooting each other with bows and arrows or whatever, and especially, it's also kids, and they're basically fine with it. I mean, Katniss realizes that it's not okay, but still, I just don't really like it too much, and especially because it's a dystopian book, killing doesn't really work well with that, especially in The Giver, which I've never actually said on camera, but in The Giver, they killed the younger, twin, basically, so if they had identical twins, whichever one weighed less, they would just basically kill. I've never admitted that about The Giver on camera, but that's one of the things that I didn't like about The Giver. So the killing part in The Hunger Games and making it the whole point of the book isn't the best for me. Another thing that I did like was the survival part. So I really like Survivor shows. So like Survivor, obviously, Alone, if you've ever heard of it. I'm really interested in all that stuff. Even though I don't do much camping myself, it's just really interesting. And I did like the survival part because there was a survival part in the games. It wasn't just you have to kill each other, because they got dropped off in this like arena place, and it could be like foresty, it could be really cold, really hot in a desert, something like that. They don't really know, so it was really interesting to see Katniss and all of her allies and everything like that try to survive, and it was just really interesting. Obviously, the killing part took some part of it away, but it was still really cool nevertheless. Another thing that I didn't like was that it just seemed like the first 70 pages or so were just an intro to Katniss. So essentially, at page 80 maybe, she actually gets drawn for the games and gets ready to compete and all that. But the thing is, before that, it's just this really, really long, just basically description of her life, all of the traumas that she's had before and stuff. But the problem is that I would have liked this to be a lot shorter. Now, we definitely needed to know some of this about Katniss's backstory, but just some of it could have been left out until to be explained later, essentially. And I just didn't like that Suzanne Collins just restricted a space right at the beginning, a third of the book really, to tell that story, where she could have incorporated it in other places in the book. Another thing that I didn't like is that, in my opinion, this book would not be memorable if it was so famous. So basically, I've had a couple of friends in the past, a couple of acquaintances really, that really did like The Hunger Games, and me reading it, I don't necessarily know if I do agree with that, but the thing is that it wouldn't really be memorable if it was that famous, like I said before. So let's just say, I just came across this in the library, right? It wasn't really too famous, it was moderately famous, but I'd never heard anyone talking about it. I read it, it's okay, I might get the sequel, probably not, because it's not too great of a book, and then I just never think about it again. That's the kind of book that this is, except that there's a couple of movies and 2 other sequels to accompany it to remind you that it's still there. Another thing that I sort of liked was that it wasn't as bad as The Giver. So the only reason that I'm comparing it to The Giver is because those are the only 2 books that I've ever read that are dystopian books. Also, if you want to watch my review on The Giver, you can watch it up here. It was one of my first reviews, but it still holds a special place in my heart since I hated it so much. But anyway, The Hunger Games, it was pretty good. I don't think it would be too memorable, but since I hated The Giver so much, it was definitely a lot better, because there were actually some things that I did like in it. For example, I really liked Katniss. I really liked her sister, even though she wasn't in it too much. And also, I just really liked the survival part of it. So there were definitely things I liked in there, whereas in comparison to The Giver, I just didn't really like anything at all. Finally, one last thing that I didn't like about this book was the ending. It ended in an okay place, but it was kind of anticlimactic, really. It ended on sort of a lame cliffhanger. That's really the only way that I can describe it. And Suzanne Collins really wrote this so that there could be a sequel. It literally says end of book 1 at the end of this book. And that's really annoying for me because that means that I have to read the second one. And I'm not sure when I'll review that one. Maybe in the next couple weeks just because I don't have too many books to review right now. So is this book verified, neutral, or spoiled? I'm going to have to say that this book is spoiled. And basically it's just because the negativity dominates over the positivity. I just didn't like, first of all, this dystopian part of the book, just in general, because I don't really like dystopian books, and also the killing part, and just it not being so memorable other than that. Even though I did like the survival part of it, and Katniss and Primrose, her sister or whatever, I liked those characters, but it's just still the killing part, just triumphs over that, so I'm gonna have to say that it's spoiled. And I definitely am going to review the sequel one day, not really sure when, but I'm going to have to, because even though it wasn't a great book, I still do want to know what happens next. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the video, and also subscribe if you haven't already and you enjoy my content. And also, make sure to turn on the bell so that you're notified when my next video comes out. So, at the time of recording, I have 95 subscribers, and it would mean the world to me if I could get 100 before June 2nd, because June 2nd is actually the 1-year anniversary of this channel. It's okay if we don't make it there, because my fans have been amazing so far. So, I hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time.